8 gangsters dubbed the Ipswich YouTube drug gang by media after a violent and bloody and brutal rivalry that took place throughout the town as part of the main objective to control the drug trade, Class A like H and White. The end result would be the shocking end of 17-year-old Tavis Spencer Aitken back in 2018. Reports say the leader of the Ipswich-based gang, the Neno gang, ordered 3, after their postcode IP3, was Abbas Uddin. His foot soldiers were Tyler Woodley, Jake Bristol, Haden Fraser, Jake Marsh, Liam Roberts, and Tawfiq O'Connor. Together the gang had sold Class A gear like White and H, and they were making mega money. Abbas had essentially established the Neno line which operated in Ipswich, Stow Market and East Suffolk. Now Abbas had drilled into his gang clear orders. No losses would be tolerated and they would do anything to make fast money and to protect their territory. Now in order to deter other dealers and criminals and other gangsters from encroaching on their territory, 4 unknown members who were part of the Neo line had taken a car on false plates to an address on Old Foundry Road in Leiston, Suffolk. On May 30th, 2018, the gang who were masked had pulled out a 12-gauge, aimed at the front door and then pressed the trigger. Neighbours heard at least 2 loud bangs. Now the door was peppered, but thankfully there were no injuries. Now the gang was so unfazed by police presence that a police chase ensued along the A12. In the gang's haste to get away, the car was abandoned in the Ravenwoods area of East Ipswich, an area the gang were familiar with, as they outran the police. The Neno gang's influence reached far and wide. As well as their criminal activity, the Neno gang regularly posted YouTube videos where they showed off their money, luxury items and rapping about crimes they had committed, but most importantly, taunting their rivals such as J-Block. Now other incidences of the Neno gang included outside McDonald's in Ravenswood on June 13th, 2018, where an unnamed 16-year-old teenager was found in a pool of red by police. He was then rushed to hospital in serious condition. The Neno gang was quickly gaining a reputation for blading, dealing, taxing as well as robberies. Reports also say that a group of innocent people were ambushed as they sat in a car in Wickham Market in April of 2018. The Neno gang told the innocent people to get out of the car, lined them up on the side of the road, and then their phones, wallets, sports equipment was taken. The gang was said to have thanked the group of people in the end and then shouted IP3. The Neno gang were getting so big that the Ipswich gang J-Block had enough. The fact that the Neno gang was taking over large parts of Ipswich and surrounding areas, taxing grows and robbing other dealers infuriated J-Block. Now members of the J-Block gang, despite coming from rival postcodes, were similar to the Neno gang in every way. They were gangsters, rappers, taunting Neno gang as well, dealers, and were also known for taking crops and robberies. However, things reached a point of no return. The court heard hours before the end of 17-year-old Tavis Spencer Aitken, who was affiliated with the Neno gang, often appearing in their music videos. Tavis was with 2 friends when Aris and Kyrie Davis spotted each other at the Lush shop. Tavis and his mates were said to have shouted IP3 and then threw up hand signs in front of frightened shoppers. As the 2 rival gangs began to draw closer to each other, a police officer, Moray Osman, was called to the scene and he attempted to disperse the crowd. He frog-marched Tavis and his mates outside and searched the teenagers for blades. When he attempted to take the J-Block members, Aristot and Kyrie, outside, the 2 were already hidden. Now the incident in town was said to have been a victory for the Neno gang, something that angered J-Block, because the narrative that quickly spread was that Aristot and Kyrie had hidden because they were scared. Just 2 hours later, there was a clear plan set in motion, and that was to seriously harm or even kill a rival for the disrespect. The J-Block gang had sent out a 5-man team from Jubilee Park area of West Ipswich. The gang went on a ride-out. They were 19-year-old Isaac Calver, 23-year-old Aristot Yenge, Adebayo Musa, who was 17 years old, Kyrie Davis, and 23-year-old Callum Platts. On June 2nd, 2018, just 2 hours after the incident in town, Aristot and other members of J Block gang had taken a friend's work van they regularly used and began transporting Class A in the morning. While in the van, the gangsters talked and it was decided that they needed to K. Isaac, Aristot, Adebayo, Kyrese and Callum went to an address to equip themselves with blades. 42-year-old Leon Glasgow had agreed to drive the van to the Nacton area in exchange for whites, but he argued when arrested he had no idea that he was taking J Block gang members to commit an M. Now the van was caught on CCTV parked on Packard Avenue. Aristot, who was in the front seat, had climbed out of the van along with other members. Now Callum Platts was caught on CCTV riding a push bike to the scene along with another member. Together, Kyrese and another teenager who was on push bikes spotted Tavis, who was coming back from the shops and was only yards away from his dad's home, where he was going for something to eat. A glass bottle was used over Tavis, target area the head. Now Tavis staggered, and that's when other gangsters in the van, including Aristot, had joined the brutal ambush. Tavis had nowhere to run. Panic in his eyes, dazed, he was swarmed before he could even reach his home. The first injury, as I said, was a glass bottle over his head, and then tragically, Tavis was stabbed a mammoth 15 times with an 8-inch blade, and then left in the pool of red. Now Tavis' sister, Candice Sobbers, heard the commotion, and she rushed outside to find her brother lying on his side on the ground, shaking arms wrapped around himself, his face and clothes covered in red. She screamed at her brother who did this. Tavis then says it was J Block man, before adding there were too many of them. Tavis then began to struggle to breathe, and sadly, it was then identified that he was in a bad way. Now 999 was called, and Tavis was given emergency care at the scene by paramedics before he was rushed to hospital, but sadly he was pronounced dead soon after. Now this was an M investigation, so when police conducted the investigation, door-to-door inquiries were conducted. Witnesses quickly told police that they had seen a van matching the description that was used in the M scene by the river Gipping, where something shiny was thrown in the river. They even described the handle as being dark and the blade looking something like a machete. Now police also located the work van that was driven by Leon Glasgow. Inside the van was a jumper worn by Aristot on the day of the M also. Now, Aristot says that he had been in the van earlier while he was dealing Class A, but he had left and he had no involvement in the M of Tavis at all. In fact, everyone denied the M. Now, in the days after the murder, armed police raided the house in Colchester, where Aristot and another GM were said to have been hiding. They were arrested and then interviewed on at least 3 occasions. On every occasion, every single person denied any involvement. That included Isaac, Aristot, Adebayo, Kyrese, Callum as well. 19-year-old Isaac Calver of St Helens Street, Ipswich was jailed for life with a minimum term of 21 years. 23-year-old Aristot Yenge of Spring Road, Ipswich was given life with a minimum term of 25 years. 20-year-old Adebayo Amusa of Sovereign Road, Barking, East London was jailed for life with a minimum term of 23 years. 17-year-old Kyrese Davis of Turnstiles Square in Colchester was jailed for life with a minimum term of 21 years. Now Callum Platts was jailed for 14 years and he was found not guilty of the M but guilty of manslaughter. He was told that he would have to serve at least half. Now while in jail, Callum Platts was living his best life. He had used a phone and went on social media to say that his jail sentence was light work and he would be home in 5 years. The judge noted that both J Block and Neno Gang were known dealers and violent criminals. However, they were also YouTube celebrities celebrated for their rap lyrics and goading each other. Condolences. Stay safe.